Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host Tom Downey. I am back. No more Harrison for you. You guys are welcome. As I was gone, of course Andrew Luck retires because there's always something going on when I'm out of the Dallas area. Let's move on to the Dallas Cowboys. That's what you're here for after all. Let's start off with Byron Jones. Is he back? 3 stars on this one. Not quite set in stone, but the report from Todd Archer is that the Cowboys plan today to activate Byron off the PUP list, the physically unable to perform list, which does give him a chance to play in week 1. It's only 3 stars though, because I'm not yet sure if Byron's going to be able to play at week 1. Once we get to week 2, I feel fairly confident about that. Byron, of course, had that hip surgery back in March, and up until he just came off the PUP list, he's been sidelined since then. He comes off that list after DeMarcus Lawrence, after Tyrone Crawford, although I will make note, before Noah Brown comes off that list. So where we sit right now with that Cowboys defensive back depth chart, Byron, Cheeto, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis is your number 4. We'll talk more about the cornerback battle to make that 5th and maybe 6th spot as well later on, along with Donovan Wilson as well. Here's my question for you. Are you a true Cowboys fan? If the answer is yes, then like this video. Go do it right now. Get us a like here. If the answer is no, well then please stop watching. Why are you here? I don't understand why you would be here. It's very strange to me. So if you're a true Cowboys fan, like this video. Hook us up with that like there. We greatly appreciate it here on the Cowboys Report. Next up, let's talk trades here. How about an offensive lineman trade? I'll give this one 2 stars. It is a possibility, although it's by no means a surefire thing. Now, The Athletic was talking with Jerry Jones, and Jones made a comment about how Jerry thinks that this is as much as we've ever had since he's been around pro football in terms of offensive line talent. And Jerry also kind of seemed to imply, at least per The Athletic, that, hey, teams have called about the Cowboys' offensive line depth. One thing that does give me pause here, there are some injuries on the offensive line. Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, those guys are out right now. Connor McGovern hasn't been practicing all camp because of a pectoral injury. In reality, those are your 1st, 2nd, and probably your 6th best, maybe 7th best, depending on where you slot in McGovern, offensive linemen. So you're going to keep Cam Fleming. You're going to keep, of course, your starters up there. Joe Looney, you want Connor McGovern to be one of those guys. There's already 8 deep. Mitch Hyatt has been a pretty colossal disappointment so far for the Dallas Cowboys. Brandon Knight still recovering from his own injury. You have Adam Redmond, who can help you out as a backup option there. I don't love Jake Campos, but he's shown some flashes at times. You're probably looking on the interior there. Could you maybe trade away a Redmond, a Suafilo? I think that is a possibility. The problem is, I would feel a lot better about doing it if I was super confident in Zach Martin, and more importantly, if I knew for sure that Connor McGovern wasn't going to start the year on IR. I think that's a possibility. He hasn't been practicing. You might just put him on IR for the first 6 or so weeks and then reevaluate after that, or give him even a full-on redshirt year. So if you get McGovern back, then I do feel better about trading away probably either Redmond or Suafilo. But if you have an offensive lineman in mind, let me know in the comment section. I would venture to say several of you will throw out Lael Collins, but that ties right back into McGovern for me, because your plan there would be you kick Sewell out to right tackle, who hasn't played a whole lot of right tackle so far this camp in preseason, and then you put McGovern in. But if McGovern hasn't played, I don't think that's a great idea in what is, without a doubt, a win-now season for the Dallas Cowboys. Let's move back to Zeke Elliott, because there is always an update on Ezekiel Elliott here. Even if that update is there's no real progress. 4 stars on this one. Friday was a weird day on Cowboys Twitter. Meltdowns left and right about Zeke's got a flight back to Dallas. He booked it, and I guess he didn't take it, and all kinds of weird stuff back and forth. And there's progress being made, but also, wait, no, there's not. A deal's going to come in 48 hours, and we're like 72 hours since then. It's just a gigantic cluster. Here's the reality. Nobody knows anything. There continues to be no real progress, and that's per Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones on that one. I will make note, though. The Cowboys do expect Zeke to be with the team for week 1. Doesn't really make much sense, though, overall, because there's always drama here. There's always drama with Zeke and the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Zeke has broken his silence verbally at least, beyond social media with retweets and stuff, with an interview with Maxim, which is weird because what year is it? That's the weird part to me. Here's his quote. I love playing for the Dallas Cowboys. I love the organization, my teammates. I do want to be a Cowboy for the rest of my life, and hopefully that's a possibility. But even Emmitt Smith, the greatest running back of all time, ended up going to play for a couple of years with another organization. So just the nature of the game, but I want to be a Dallas Cowboy for as long as I can. Now, my anticipation here with the Zeke quote is this will be tweeted as, or spun as, see, Zeke wants to re-sign. That's news. When in reality, duh. Like, this doesn't add anything in reality. Like, of course Zeke wants to play for the Dallas Cowboys. That's why he's holding out. He wants to get a new long-term contract to be with the Dallas Cowboys. I will make note, though, Jerry Jones, also chiming in again, reminds everyone that Zeke's under contract. I think it is important for him to be here, or we wouldn't have everybody here, everybody getting some work in. Everything about this is important. Everybody does understand it. It's just a question of seeing if it works. But we're going to play football one way or the other. That's the way it works. So does Zeke show up for week 1? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Type Y for yes, of course. Type N for no. I believe that yes, Zeke is with the Dallas Cowboys for week 1, but I would be lying to you if I said that with any type of extreme confidence. I think that's the case, but I'm not sure. And if you took Zeke Elliott in your fantasy drafts, make sure you have Tony Pollard as well. 3 more rumors here today on this 6-pack. Donovan Wilson, does he have to make the 53-man roster? 4 stars. Absolutely. Donovan Wilson has got to make the 53-man roster. There's no reason to not put him on there. Wilson continues to impress in the preseason, and I'm very glad the Cowboys chose to do this. They gave him reps with the second team against the Houston Texans. Ahead of Darian Thompson, ahead of George Iloka, Wilson was that 3rd/4th safety overall, behind, of course, Xavier Woods, Jeff Heath, and came on the field at the same time as Kevon Frazier. And it does continue to intrigue me here as well, that with the way that the Cowboys are using Donovan Wilson, he continues to operate quite a bit here as almost a free safety at times. The second interception that he had this preseason, this most recent one, first off, great play. You love to see it. Great sideline awareness there. That was 2 deep coverage. Came over the top and made a play there for the Dallas Cowboys. I like the flexibility there. I am intrigued by the idea of Donovan Wilson and Xavier Woods. And I'll make note, and this is why my whole point was, let's lower the expectations for Donovan Wilson. I do not think he usurps Jeff Heath in week 1. That's way too much to ask for. But just making the team for a 6th-round safety, possibly being a guy that could start down the road for you, I don't think we realize how unlikely that is. Here are the notable 6th or 7th round picks since 2010. This is your list. I'm including Xavier Woods on there. Quandre Diggs has played safety and corner. I'll count him as a safety for this discussion. Andre Hall just retired, but was a starter for Houston. Jordan Poyer, who went to the Eagles, didn't make the team, went to Cleveland and became a starter, now plays very well for the Buffalo Bills, was initially a cornerback turned safety, been a nice player. Kurt Coleman, taken by the Eagles, didn't make his impact there. And you've got guys like Adrian Colbert, Marcel Harris, who have helped out for the 49ers, but I don't know if they count as hits overall compared to these guys up there. Jalen Mills has mostly played cornerback. Bakari Rambo kind of had a couple cool games for the Bills. That's it. That is your list of 6th and 7th round picks. So the rule is, if you take a safety in the last 2 rounds, he's probably not going to be a starter. But we could look back 2 years from now and go, wow, did the Dallas Cowboys have like 25% of the hits at safety in the 6th round, which is really insane to think about there. So I do not anticipate Donovan Wilson being a starter this year, but you better put him on this team. I want more playmaking in the back end, and Wilson looks like that early college guy that he showed some flashes with, not so much the limited impact later on in his career. I've been very impressed so far with Donovan Wilson. All right, question for you guys now. Do you want a Cowboys Report Fantasy League? I would venture to say the answer is yes for at least some of you out there. If you've already DM'd me, check your DMs. I've responded and sent you guys the link and information to get in on the league. We will do as many leagues as there are people who want in. So if you want in, again, DM me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. We'll get you guys in a Cowboys Report only fantasy league. Wait for some money and for some bragging rights, all right? Moving on now to some more impressive defensive players in the preseason. How about Taco Charlton? Should the Cowboys keep him? This one's 3 stars. All right, there is one round in which I would not keep Taco Charlton, but there's no way you can cut him right now. He has impressed this preseason, and I know, guys, the Houston Texans offensive line is trash. But Taco Charlton still played pretty darn well, and actually, I thought this might have been his best game ever. Like, in a Cowboys uniform, preseason or regular season, he was all over the field before his little shoulder injury acted up on him again. But 2 forced fumbles, 2 sacks, a third which didn't count because there was, I thought, pretty weak pass or defensive holding on Jordan Lewis. Taco was very impressive against the Houston Texans. So you got to keep him on your roster unless you want to trade him. Now, I think the reason you don't do it is because of some uncertainty at the top. DeMarcus Lawrence, Tyrone Crawford are getting healthier. I think they go week 1. That's not a guarantee. Robert Quinn, he's out for the first 2 games, so he's not going to count against your 53-man roster. So you're gonna take Crawford. You're probably going to keep Dorrance Armstrong. I want to keep Kerry Hyder too right now. So that's 4. Taco's your 5th. I say take Joe Jackson as your 6th, and then once Robert Quinn comes back, and or you figure out what's going on with Randy Gregory, maybe then you reevaluate your process there and say, okay, we can't carry 7 guys. We can carry 6, though. Let's shop one of these other defensive linemen after week 2. Maybe that's Taco. Maybe it's Dorrance Armstrong. But I think right now, because Taco's showing he can help you, you always need pass rushers. I say you keep Taco on the roster. But let me know what you guys think. What should the Cowboys do with Taco Charlton? Type key for keep him, T for trade, and C for cut. Now, I included the cut on there because that's the game, right? Keep, trade, cut. That's the game we like to have fun playing. I put it up on our community here on the channel. 81% say keep, 17% say trade, 2% said cut. I will make note before we started filming this, 10% of my Twitter audience said cut him, but why? Why would you cut Taco right now? That doesn't make any sense. I think at minimum, if you don't want Taco on your team, trade him. After that Texans game, he can get you at worst, let's just say a 6th-round pick. That's at least something for a guy you're going to cut. So don't cut him. Either keep him or trade him. For me, I'm glad that 98% of you are on board with that one. Last rumor here, which is kind of a rumor. I kind of forced it, I guess. But special teams, they matter for the last couple of spots. 4 stars on this one. I think it's proven time and time again. You can find how the Cowboys and any team are juggling the bottom of their roster by paying attention to who is out there late in the game on special teams. Now, it's critical for those last spots. When you're building out that 40 to 53 spot, unless you are a project that the coaching staff is valuing you for, Rico gathers, you got to be able to contribute in year 1. So pay attention to who worked with the ones. Here were 5 guys I wanted to make note of. Justin Phillips, the UDFA who got cut and then brought back because of injuries, worked with the ones. That's noteworthy. I could maybe see a scenario where the Cowboys keep Luke Gifford through roster cuts, then put him to IR so he can come back, and maybe they try to sneak Justin Phillips through waivers and or Chris Covington for a day, and then put him back on the 53-man roster. Kevon Frazier, who I know some of you are out on, continues to be one of the most used special teams guys. I think his roster spot is relatively safe despite a battle for the 3 and 4 spot. Same with CJ Goodwin. He had a great interception, has worked ahead and alongside Donovan Lumba. Michael Jackson did not play again last week. He might be an IR candidate, frankly, or at least a total stash. That's what the Cowboys are trying to do. So Goodwin and Frazier, bottom of the roster guys who have special teams value. And when it comes to, if you want to go 4 deep, if Zeke Elliott's not there at the RB spot, Jordan Shunn works ahead of Mike Weber and Darius Jackson and plays more special teams. That matters for that last spot. And finally, Cedric Wilson, still no Noah Brown out there, gets more special teams work than Devin Smith and had a really nice punt return. Those 5 guys, maybe Chun a little bit of a darker horse there, but those guys have a real chance to make the roster because of what they bring on special teams. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.